I'm Azaria Tagaya, and this is Nightline, the top stories. PM unveils ambitious 611 billion ringgit 13th Malaysia Plan to transform economy by 2030. And Trump to announce Malaysia's tariff rate on Friday. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim on Thursday tabled the 13th Malaysia Plan in the Dewan Rakyat, describing it as a beacon of transformation to help the people face increasingly complex challenges, particularly in light of evolving global economic and geopolitical landscapes. The five-year blueprint aims to rechart national development by outlining policies, strategies and initiatives to build a united nation. Themed Redesigning Development, the 13th MP marks a renewed national effort through sound and decisive planning to realise the overarching aspirations of the Madani economic framework. A total investment of 611 billion ringgit is required to make the 13th MP a success, including the government's allocation for development expenditure estimated at 430 billion ringgit.
Bagi menjayakan RMK ini, pelaburan sebanyak 611 bilion ringgit perlu disediakan. Ini termasuk peruntukan pembangunan pada kerajaan 430 bilion ringgit, pembiayaan GLC dan GLIC 120 bilion ringgit bagi menyokong pertumbuhan ekonomi melalui pelaburan langsung domestik dalam sektor strategi. Pihak swasta pula melalui kaedah perkongsian awam swasta PPP dianggarkan sekitar 61 bilion ringgit.
The 13th MP will focus on three core policy pillars, namely good governance, comprehensive economic diversification, as well as inclusive and responsive development. It's supported by over 120 strategies and more than 600 initiatives. By 2030, gross domestic product GDP growth is targeted at between 4.5 and 5.5% annually. This will be led by domestic demand, particularly private consumption and investment. Exports are expected to grow at an average annual rate of 5.8%, with services, manufacturing and construction remaining the key contributors. Meanwhile, inflation is expected to remain between 2 and 3% per annum, broadly in line with the 2.5% average seen from 2021 to 2024.
Defisit fiskal kerajaan persekutuan dijangka berkurangan secara berperingkat di bawah 3% kepada KDNK dan paras hutang kerajaan tidak harus melebihi 60% daripada KDNK. Pendapatan negara kasar per kapita disasarkan meningkat kepada RM77,200 dan dijangka melepasi nilai ambang negara berpendapatan tinggi.
The 13th MP also outlines 9 strategic focus areas, including advancing Malaysia as an AI-driven nation, accelerating the growth of high-value and strategic industries, promoting balanced regional development, strengthening rural infrastructure, and enhancing Malaysia's influence on the global economic stage. The Prime Minister emphasised that the development plan is about building an inclusive and progressive society, while positioning Malaysia as a regional leader in digital technology through innovation and globally competitive made in Malaysia products and services. Receiving the highest share under the 13th MP was the education sector, which has been allocated some 67 billion ringgit, reaffirming the government's commitment to strengthening the national education system. Among other things, the government is moving towards making preschool compulsory for children beginning from the age of 5 in a move aimed at improving educational outcomes.
Kerajaan sedang bergerak ke arah mewajibkan prasekolah bermula umur 5 tahun. Dalam masa yang sama, lebih banyak kemudahan prasekolah, kelolaan KPM akan disediakan, terutama di kawasan desa.
As of this year, more than 1,200 dilapidated schools nationwide have been upgraded. The government will also expand the construction of vertical schools, especially in densely populated areas where land is scarce. In a structural reform, the education system will be streamlined with preschool through secondary education placed under the Education Ministry, while pre-university and higher education will be managed by the Higher Education Ministry. The Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia SPM examination will remain as a key benchmark to assess the effectiveness of education policies, curriculums and teaching methods. English will be further strengthened as both a medium of instruction and communication, while more foreign languages will be introduced. Elements of STEM, digital literacy and foundational knowledge in artificial intelligence will also be given emphasis. The Prime Minister also underscored the urgent need to reform the country's healthcare sector. He said an estimated 40 billion ringgit will be allocated to fund a comprehensive and inclusive healthcare system, which will not only be aimed at expanding access, but also at reducing out-of-pocket expenses for Malaysians. The upgrades will include new healthcare facilities and the construction and upgrading of hospitals and clinics, including 2 major hospitals in Seremban and Johor Bahru. Other upgrades include cancer centres in the northern region and Sarawak and a cardiac centre in Sabah. Anwar also announced that pro-health taxes, which currently cover sugary drinks, will be expanded to include tobacco, vape and alcohol.
Cukai pro kesihatan akan diperluas daripada gula kepada produk seperti tembakau, vape dan alkohol. Bukan sekadar untuk hasil, tetapi bagi mendorong perubahan tingkah laku dan membendung peningkatan NCD yang kian membimbangkan.
The government will also strengthen its Scheme Perubatan Madani program, which allows registered low-income groups to access free outpatient healthcare in participating private clinics. To strengthen medical supply security, Anwar said domestic pharmaceutical manufacturing would be encouraged, while the use of generic medicines in both the public and private sectors would be significantly increased. Health record management will also be enhanced as part of the country's digital healthcare transformation, powered by artificial intelligence. Anwar also highlighted plans to develop a national healthcare workforce framework to address shortages of medical professionals, including doctors, nurses and specialists. Under the 13th MP, the government will also expand minimum wage coverage to include graduates and semi-skilled workers as part of efforts to align wages.
Kadar gaji minimum harus diperluas. Ini termasuk kepada graduan dan pekerja separa mahir, lepasan TVET di bawah kod Masko 8 dan ke atas. Ini bertujuan menyediakan gaji setimpal setaraf kelulusan dan kemahiran pekerja.
Masco codes 8 and 9 cover plant and machine operators and assemblers as well as elementary occupations respectively. The new minimum wage of 1,700 ringgit will come into full effect on Friday, having been raised from 1,500 ringgit previously. Anwar also said the e-Masco portal will be enhanced to serve as a more transparent and responsive instrument for monitoring wages. He added the government is also committed to expanding social protection for workers through the non-occupational accident scheme, which will provide comprehensive social insurance coverage, including outside working hours. Gig economy workers will also not be excluded from access to social protection through legislation under the Digital Economy Framework. In addition, Anwar said the government aims to reduce the share of foreign workers from 15% to 10% by 2030, with stricter enforcement of the multi-tier levy system to encourage employers to adopt automation and hire more local workers. Now, the tabling of the 13th Malaysia Plan comes at a crucial time as the country navigates global economic uncertainty and ongoing disruptions to supply chains. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the 5-year development blueprint also underscores the government's commitment to strengthening the Bumi Putra agenda.
Pemerkasaan agenda ekonomi Bumi Putra sebagaimana yang telah ditetapkan di dalam Putra 35, di mana 132 inisiatif yang telah ditetapkan di dalam resolusi Kongres Ekonomi Bumi Putra telah juga diterapkan di dalam RMK 13 ini.
Zahid, who also chairs the Technical and Vocational Education and Training or TVET Council, welcomed the National TVET Policy 2030, which focuses on building a highly skilled workforce. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadillah Yusof said the 13th MP also reflects the government's strong push to reinforce national priorities in energy, water security and environmental sustainability.
Pendekatan kita dengan teknologi yang baru, termasuklah teknologi nuklear yang menjadi salah satu pandangan kita untuk kita kaji secara mendalam sama ada ianya boleh diperkenalkan di Malaysia supaya kita dapat menangani bekalan tenaga yang lebih firm.
Fadillah, who is also the Energy Transition and Water Transformation Minister, expressed appreciation for the government's firm commitment to addressing water issues and disaster management, including through large-scale flood mitigation projects. In the meantime, the Madani Government Backbenchers Club, BBC, said the 13th Malaysia Plan is a clear reflection of the government's commitment to realising the aspirations of the Madani economy to elevate living standards and reshape the nation's economic landscape. In a statement, the BBC highlighted that the 13th MP was a continuation of initiatives introduced over the past 2 years, setting the tone for a national development strategy rooted in social justice and economic competitiveness. The group also welcomed the government's focus on narrowing the urban-rural divide and ensuring equitable distribution of development gains, regardless of race, religion or geography. The 13th Malaysia Plan has been described as a strategic continuation of past national frameworks, one that balances policy stability with bold new reforms. Putra Business School's Professor Ahmad Razman Abdul Latif said the blueprint not only aims to elevate wages and living standards, but also prioritises inclusivity, good governance and sustainable development.
In my opinion, the 13th Malaysian Plan is a continuation from the past plan as well as the current Madani economic frameworks. And when we look into government intention to ensure that the people will get a better paying job and eventually a higher quality of life, this is not will be addressed just at the individual or household level, but again, to make sure that everyone will benefit it from economic sustainability to environmental stewardship to good governance and eventually the public well-being.
Meanwhile, industry players have also welcomed the plan. In a statement, Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers President Tan Sri Sohtian Lai called it a fiscally responsible blueprint that places manufacturing at the heart of job creation, transformation and resilience. He praised the government's emphasis on automation, renewable energy and SME scaling, while urging flexibility in implementing wage reforms and foreign labour policies to maintain competitiveness. During his speech, Anwar also told the Dewan Rakyat that US President Donald Trump is set to attend the 47th ASEAN Summit this October, marking his first official visit to the region since returning to office.
Presiden Donald Trump mengesahkan akan hadir ke sidang kemuncak ASEAN ke-47 pada Oktober kelak. Dan saya maklumkan, baik Tuan Presiden, saya akan umumkan di Parlimen pada hari ini.
The summit, scheduled from October 26 to 28th, is expected to be the largest ASEAN has ever hosted, with top leaders from China, Japan, South Korea, India and all ASEAN members in attendance. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Ibrahim and Raja Permaisuri Agong Raja Zarit Sofia on Thursday attended a parade held in conjunction with the 2025 Warriors' Day celebration. The parade was held at the Dataran Pahlawan Negara in Putrajaya. The celebration, coordinated by the Royal Malaysia Police (PDRM), carried the concept of a static parade featuring detachments from the PDRM, Malaysian Armed Forces, Veterans Association of Malaysian Armed Forces and the Ex-Policemen Association of Malaysia. The ceremony began with the playing of the national anthem Negaraku, accompanied by the firing of a 21-gun salute. His Majesty then inspected the main guard of honour. A total of 18 officers and 685 personnel from the PDRM and MAF participated in the parade. Also present were Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadillah Yusof, Defence Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Khalid Nordin and Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail. The ceremony proceeded with the sounding of the last post as the Jalur Gemilang was lowered. This was followed by a poem recital and a special pantomime performance. The ceremony proceeded with the sounding of the Paluan Fajar, during which the Jalur Gemilang was hoisted, symbolizing renewed spirit and strength for the nation's heroes to continue defending the country's sovereignty and peace. US President Donald Trump has agreed to announce Malaysia's tariff rate latest by Friday. This after a long-anticipated phone call between Trump and Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, which took place early on Thursday, just a day ahead of Washington's August 1st deadline to impose steep new tariffs on Malaysian exports. Anwar confirmed the call in Parliament and said Trump had agreed to delay the tariff announcement pending final clarifications.
Setelah perbincangan itu berlaku dan beberapa penjelasan yang saya sampaikan, beliau memutuskan untuk menangguh pengumuman keesokannya. Dan kadar tarif akan diumumkan esok dan kita doa insya-Allah ia akan membantu dan tidak membebankan ekonomi negara kita.
The call, initiated by the US, lasted just under an hour, with both sides negotiating key terms that could see Malaysia spared from the full brunt of the proposed 25% tariff. A deal is expected to be announced on August 1st, with rates possibly reduced to between 15% and 20% after Malaysia made concessions on halal certification and rare earth supply. The US has already secured similar deals with Indonesia, Japan and South Korea as it seeks broader alignment across Asia. Now, Donald Trump on Wednesday slapped a 50% tariff on most Brazilian goods to fight what he has called a witch hunt against former President Jair Bolsonaro. The US president, however, softened the blow by excluding sectors such as aircraft, energy and orange juice from heavier levies. Trump announced the tariffs, some of the steepest levied on any economy in the US trade war, as his administration also unveiled sanctions on the Brazilian Supreme Court justice who has been overseeing Bolsonaro's trial on charges of plotting a coup. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, in an immediate response, said Brazil was willing to negotiate trade with Washington, but that it would not give up on the tools it had at hand to defend itself, hinting that retaliation was possible.
New trade pressure, all cost burdens. How will Malaysia's plastic sector respond? With global shifts, is the industry ready to compete? Exports, ESG, survival. A frank look at where Malaysian plastic stands and where it's headed. Azaria Tagaya speaks with Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association President CC Chia only on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Drugs disguised as sweets and chocolates seized. This and more after this breather.
Rina, apa nak buat bila bersara? Tak pastilah, tapi macam-macam boleh buat. Cuaca berdebu biasanya akan ada masalah paru-paru. Bagi yang menghidapi asma, harus ada persiapan pendiri. Perlu ke daftar kelas motivasi diri? Mungkin perlu. Hati-hati, jangan sampai menjerat diri. Waspada aktiviti air, anak-anak, kes lemas baru-baru ini jadikan iktibar. Mengharungi kesesakan lalu lintas, ketahui kos petrol kenderaan anda. MSI setiap Isnin hingga Jumaat, 10 pagi, hanya di TV3.
Engkau esok kau filekan bercerai dengan Wasim. Kenapa you nak anak kan?
Ya, I nak anak. Tapi anak dengan you.
I tak boleh pregnant. I tak nak mengandung. Tolonglah Nisa. Kita sama-sama carikan isteri untuk Abang Wasim. Habis tu Kak Ita ni apa? Melawan. Nisa lah orang yang paling tepat. Habis tu, sekarang ni Nisa pula yang nak kena jadi mangsa.
Kau nak madu dengan Nisa itu? Itu yang kau nak?
Asal? Tak boleh? Salah? Haram ke?
Aku masih sayangkan kau, faham tak?
Nisa buat semua ni demi Kak Ita, tahu tak?
Siapa pandai-pandai kahwinkan anak aku?
Dalam setiap pertandingan, kan ada yang menang, ada yang kalah.
Tak nak. Tak kira. Kita kena menang. Kita dah buat semua benda, dah prepare untuk menang. Tak boleh kalah-kalah. Ingat aku jealous. Kau jangan main gila dengan Zarita Mali.
Warga Seremban yang pagi-pagi nak cari kopi kena order hearty breakfast. Patut ramai orang order tahu bergedil dekat sini. Ini dia, nasi lomak ibu jari. Kita ada cinnamon roll. Sedapnya, bau tempoyak. Ui, gulai dia puas hati tau. Patutlah derimba ni ramai orang datang. Jangan lupa saksikan Jalan-Jalan Cari Makan setiap hari Ahad 11.30 pagi di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Back with us on Nightline. 6 policemen have been remanded for 7 days to assist in investigations involving an alleged 12,000 ringgit bribe to cover up a Ketum juice possession case. The suspects, aged between 30 and 50, include a sub-inspector attached to a district police headquarters in Pahang. The suspects are believed to have received the money in exchange for not taking action against 5 individuals arrested in May for possession of Ketum juice. Pahang MACC Director Muhammad Syukur Mahmud confirmed the arrests under Section 17A of the MACC Act. Their arrest comes on the heels of the recent remand of 3 senior police officers on Tuesday, including a retired officer, for allegedly soliciting and receiving bribes amounting to 110,000 ringgit. It is believed they were receiving between 4,000 and 5,000 ringgit monthly for allegedly protecting drug and Ketum juice distribution activities across Pahang. A drug syndicate has been caught using courier services to deliver various types of narcotics disguised in chocolate packaging to customers across the country. The sly tactic was uncovered by the Kelantan Customs during a raid on a delivery premises in Pangkalan Cepa on July 15th. Kelantan Customs Director Wan Jamal Abdul Salam Wan Long said 14 parcels were found containing more than 26 kilograms of compressed cannabis, cannabis buds, pil kuda or yaba pills and ketamine with an estimated street value of over 201,000 ringgit. The drugs had been packed in wrappers resembling chocolate and popular beverage brands in an attempt to deceive the authorities. It is believed that the packages were intended for distribution in the Klang Valley as well as several other states. Authorities believe all the parcels were sent by the same individual. The case is being investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act. Police in Kedah have crippled a criminal group known as Geng Ali, believed to be behind a string of telecom asset thefts. 2 suspects, aged 24 and 27, were arrested on July 23rd for allegedly stealing telecom cabinet cards in a residential area in Sungai Petani. Initial checks found 1 suspect had 3 previous offences, while the other had 14 records. This marks the first reported case involving the theft of telecom cabinet cards, with losses estimated at 80,000 ringgit. A total of 29 cards and 1 cabinet box believed to have been stolen from roadside substations was seized. The case is being investigated under Section 379 of the Penal Code. Malaysia youngsters crowned champions of Asia. The details when Nightline returns.
Tanyalah Ustaz minggu ini, Isnin, pilihan tanpa zuriat. Selasa, sunnah yang dilupakan dalam solat. Rabu, Taha yang memperingatkan. Kamis, sumber penyucian jiwa. Jumaat, syurga di bawah 2 kakinya. Ahad, ihsan tanpa selindung. Tanyalah Ustaz biar tahu jangan keliru di TV3 dan TV9.
Hai, Assalamualaikum. Saya Zairil Azim dan saya melakukan sebagai watak Dr. Hakim dalam Setia Itu Mahal. Dr. Hakim ni adalah suami kepada Liyana, seorang suami yang penyabar. Tahap kesabaran Dr. Hakim, seorang suami itu masih cuba untuk menyelamatkan rumah tangga beliau. Dan saya percaya ramai di antara di luar sana ada suami-suami yang macam ni, yang menghadapi masalah dan ujian yang sama tetapi masih juga tetap cuba untuk menyelamatkan rumah tangga masing-masing. Laki-laki tidak bercerita tapi tahu-tahu dia pergi meninggalkan kita.
Tak miskin pun lah kalau awak tak kerja.
Benar nak gaduh.
Sayang.
Sekarang awak nak berkasarkan saya. Kalau awak rasa saya ni tak guna sebagai isteri, lepaskan je.
Jadi kalau nak tahu kelahiran karakter saya ni, jangan lupa untuk saksikan Setia Itu Mahal hanya di TV3.
Setia Itu Mahal mulai 28 Julai, Isnin hingga Jumaat 7 malam. Terbaru di Akasia TV3.
Masuk hutan, selam lautan dan tinjau wildlife beraksi dalam Arabian Seas. Africa's Hunters musim pertama. Chasing the Rains. Africa's Hunters musim kedua. Alien Abyss. Layan Animal Documentary di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
On to the foreign front. A United Nations UN high-level conference on the peaceful resolution of the Palestinian question concluded Wednesday at UN headquarters in New York. Held from July 28th to the 30th, the meeting gathered senior officials from nearly 130 countries, ending with the adoption of the New York Call and New York Declaration, reaffirming support for the two-state solution. However, the US and Israel did not attend the conference, which was co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned this two-state solution was at a breaking point and condemned Gaza's deepening humanitarian crisis. 15 countries, including Australia, Canada, France and Spain, urged wider recognition of Palestine as a step towards peace. The declaration warned the ongoing conflict threatens both regional stability and global security.
It must stop.
Meanwhile, Canada has joined France and the United Kingdom in announcing plans to recognize a Palestinian state at the 80th UN General Assembly in September. Its Prime Minister, Mark Carney, made the announcement on Wednesday, saying Canada has long supported a two-state solution with an independent Palestinian state living peacefully alongside Israel. France has already committed to recognition in September, while the UK says it will do the same if Israel fails to agree to a ceasefire in Gaza. The coordinated move leaves the US increasingly isolated from key allies over its stance on Israel's military campaign. US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, blasted Canada's decision, threatening to derail ongoing trade talks with Ottawa. Now in Gaza, at least 111 Palestinians were killed and 820 others injured in Israeli airstrikes across the besieged enclave over the past 24 hours. According to authorities, 91 of the fatalities occurred while Palestinians were seeking or waiting for humanitarian aid, including victims near the Zikim crossing in northern Gaza. The remaining casualties were reported across central and southern Gaza, primarily at distribution points or sites where aid convoys were present. The strikes took place amid severe famine conditions in Gaza, where food distribution operations, many managed by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation with Israeli security, have repeatedly come under fire and international scrutiny. To date, Gaza's death toll has reached 60,249, with over 147,000 others injured. Tsunami warnings have been lifted in Russia, Japan and the United States after a magnitude 8.8 earthquake struck off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula on Wednesday, allowing millions of evacuees to return home. The quake triggered tsunamis and caused widespread disruption, but fears of a large-scale disaster were not realized. Countries gradually lifted or downgraded alerts as the situation stabilized. Locals reported the sea level dropping and rising suddenly, a typical sign of an incoming tsunami. The only reported fatality was in Japan, a woman who drove off a cliff while trying to flee. The worst damage was reported in Russia, where waves hit the port of Severokurilsk, submerging a local fish processing plant. The U.S. Geological Survey said it was one of the 10 strongest quakes recorded since 1900. On to sports now. Bowling and the 2025 Under-18 Asian Junior Championships. Malaysia have been crowned overall champions in Doha, securing an unassailable lead in the medal standings after a historic sweep of both the boys and girls team events on Thursday. In the girls' competition, Qurratul Ain Izdihar Pozi, Adelia Nur Shazali, Intan Nur Azliman and Natalie Chong struck gold with 4,775 pinfalls across 24 games. Taiwan took silver while Malaysia B clinched bronze. In the boys' event, Said Abdullah, Hafiz Azlan, Akil Faizal and Wan Zarif Ikram Mazlan edged out Kuwait by just 2 pins, finishing with 5,198. With only 2 events left, Malaysia already hold 5 gold and 4 bronze, their best haul yet, and for the first time ever have won both team titles in a single edition. Moving on to esports now, the 2025 MLBB Mid-Seasons Cup. Selangor Red Giants OG Esports, or SRGOG, are still on track to defend their title after edging out Indonesia's RRQ Hoshi in a thrilling 3-2 quarter-final win in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on Thursday. The defending champs started well in Game 1 but were outmaneuvered by RRQ's strategy and lost 20-31. They bounced back in Game 2 thanks to EXP laner Cram, who scored a maniac and led them to a dominant 21-6 victory. Game 3 saw Innocent take charge, guiding SRGOG to a 17-9 win and their first lead of the match. However, RRQ were not done yet, levelling things 2-2 with a sharp 13-2 win in Game 4 to force a decider. In the all-important Game 5, SRGOG stepped up with aggressive, confident play to close the series with a 13-4 win and book their place in the semi-finals. Its booming 5-star hotel scene led by the stunning new suite under the Nidgresco Dome. With that, I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for watching and we'll see you next time.